Things I don't like in the Jurassic Park movies. This is the part where you're supposed to kill me. So, you're not going to do anything to me? Hey Roberta, is there something different about you? Did you get a tan or something? Oh, okay. Things I don't like in the Jurassic Park movies. Jurassic Park is my most favorite franchise of all time. But, let's be honest people, these movies weren't perfect, and I'm the first one to say it. As much as I love these movies, there are things I didn't like either. Some of them are minor issues I could live without. Others are major issues that I feel they made the movies, to put it politely, incomplete to me. If I was a casual reviewer, this video would be like, 10 reasons why Jurassic Park is worse than how you remember it, and put the impression that these movies were always bad.
I do! I like Spider-Man 3! Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I like it about as much as I like the other Spider-Man movies. Which, let's be honest people, are stupid movies!
Luckily, this is not that kind of content you're getting here, and I think I already established how I love these movies, so you trust my word more than those clickbaity channels that feeds.
1 hour later.
And that's how I will reach over 10,000 subs within the next fiscal year. But that's not the topic here. This is not a top 10 list or anything, but close enough. This is how we'll go with it. I'm going to go through every movie in order, starting from Jurassic Park and end with Fallen Kingdom. Each entry will have the issues listed from least good to worst, if there are more than one issue for each movie. Some of these are already mentioned in other videos, but I'll go to more details about them here. Without further ado, let's get to it, starting with Nedry's lack of interactions. This might be an odd thing to say, but have you noticed for a character that made one of the biggest impacts of the franchise, barely did anything else? This movie had a relatively small cast and everyone had interactions with each other, but Nedry was pretty much isolated and in his own world. I didn't take notice of this until I read the comic adaptation by Topps Comics, and we see here Hammond asking Nedry to intervene during the tour. This made me want to see more of this in the movie. Ignoring that Nedry was more interactive in the novel and he even was part of the center tour along with the rest, we barely know anything about Nedry from the movie. What are his exact motives, and why he chose to betray InGen? What's his deal with Dodgson? We get some backstory in the prequel comic, but its canonicity is debatable. He was supposed to have more scenes with Hammond, but they got cut out for pacing, so sadly we ended up with a memorable, yet underdeveloped character.
That was Hammond's mistake.
Hammond's portrayal. Yeah, this one you've heard me talk about in more than occasion, so I'll keep it short. But a great deal of the brilliance of Jurassic Park was due to Hammond underestimating what he was doing thanks to his short-sighting and greed. Richard Attenborough's performance was great, but it wasn't faithful to the character. Instead of giving us the evil businessman ready to build a park over the dead bodies of his workers, we got a sympathetic grandpa who we feel sorry because he couldn't make his dreams come true and hit hard by the reality of this achievement.
He's never had control, that's the illusion!
Downplaying the chaos theory and the failure of Jurassic Park. Please forgive me for this, but I'm going to use a Doug Walker clip to explain this issue. Wow. Tough crowd.
Growing up, I really loved the original book. It was slow moving, but you really kind of felt this connection. It somehow felt mature, even though it was still written for kids. The movie very much tries to capture that as well as the whimsical side to it, but I feel like Spielberg has been putting too much emphasis on the whimsical side and not the realistic side.
And that's my main issue with the movie. It focused a lot on the wonder of the dinosaurs and made little effort to address the more complex elements. One would say this is the kind of movie where these issues were too complex for us and we didn't get them as children. Except that's not the case here. The issues addressed were in the movie, but they were still bare minimum outside these three moments. Ian Malcolm in the novel was talking non-stop about the chaos theory and how the park was doomed to fail from the start, either because nature is taking its course or due to an oversight by Hammond. There was a lot of unused dialogue that they ended up using it in Fallen Kingdom.
A lot of the dialogue that he has in the Senate hearing is from Michael Crichton. It's from the book, Jurassic Park. And it's amazing how many ideas that apply to this movie are in the original book.
Change is like death. You don't know what it looks like until you're standing at the gates. We convince ourselves that sudden change is something that happens outside the normal order of things, like a car crash, or that it's beyond our control, like a fatal illness. We don't conceive of sudden, radical, irrational change as woven into the very fabric of existence. Yet I can assure you it most assuredly is. And it's happening now.
Remember the Triceratops scene? Remember how everybody was so happy and charmed by her? In the novel, it wasn't that happy of a moment. Ignoring that it was a stegosaurus, the characters were noticing issues with her, like her difficulty of breathing. They concluded that current day environment is not suitable for these dinosaurs because the air is way different from how it was 65 million years BC. Remember when Grant and the kids found dinosaur eggs? The movie played it so simple that it wasn't brought up again and they brushed it aside like, oh hey, dinosaurs are breeding. Okay, but in the novel, it was treated as a serious business because it showed that the system used to create the dinosaurs was heavily flawed. And the best part of it? Hammond was getting all of this right on his face. Whenever the characters notice these issues, Hammond is listening and he argues back trying to prove they're wrong, and the park works fine and it's the people around him making mistakes, but it all comes down to, hey, your park is failing and here's the evidence right in front of you. Sadly, the movie didn't go that route and is for a long time the reason why it was seen as a dinosaur adventure movie that only got popular thanks to its groundbreaking effects. This is one of the reasons why I love Fallen Kingdom, because it explored the ugly side of the science and business that was sadly left out of the original movie. The following may sound sacrilegious, but I'm open for a more faithful reboot when the time comes. It doesn't have to be a movie. You can make a Netflix show to cover everything you need. Just give us a more faithful adaptation, otherwise Fallen Kingdom is the winner on adapting the themes here. The color grading of the movie. In the Jurassic Park 3 video, I mentioned that I was more fan of Hawaii as the setting for the movies. Now California isn't a bad choice and I do agree it gives this island a different look, but my problem is mainly the color grading displayed. When I think of this movie, the colors yellow, brown, and dull red and green is what comes to mind, and at times, it can be a turn-off when I remember the vibrant colors of the other movies. Even the green is too muted here. It's not as bad as the orange grading of some of the recent movies or making everything look so grey, but I wish the colors were more appealing here.
Don't take it out on me.
Lack of faithfulness to the source material. It's weird how this movie was made because the book was made in response to the success of the first Jurassic Park movie, yet it barely followed the book. We didn't get most of the characters from the book, the plot and purpose to go to the island was different, and many of the iconic scenes from the book were entirely missing, making it an even looser adaptation than Jurassic Park. There were several rewrites and many endings were purposed, but one would say they wouldn't have issues if they stuck to the original source material instead of trying to make an adaptation in name only.
And we're stuck here, ladies and gentlemen, and stuck together thanks to you people.
Removing all character developing moments. One of the major complaints about this movie is how unlikable the main characters are, and the movie plays it black and white by portraying our heroes to be in the right despite being irresponsible, and our villains aren't the wrong despite being justified in their work and more competent. This is the result of not having any character building moments, leaving many of them undeveloped. Except, there were moments like these in the movie, but they were removed. The production was already messy with multiple rewrites and pitched endings, but removing these little moments exploring their personalities and relationship was, in my opinion, the worst thing to happen to this movie, because it gave a bad impression of our characters here. These deleted scenes shows us how our villains have standards and aren't entirely evil. They show us how our heroes are split about their operation. What are their plans after the expedition? And if this was also included, Nick Van Owen's regret of taking the bullets from Timbo's shotgun. Luckily, you can see some of these moments in the comic adaptation, but they deserve to stay in the final version.
That's the last time I leave you in charge.
Scene interrupting warning!
Take the phone to Mommy now!
The plot of the movie. I know many people hate this movie just because this loser was killed, but to me, the plot of the movie itself is my biggest gripe about it. People say Fallen Kingdom brought nothing new to the table. Jurassic Park 3 is guiltier of it for A, recycling a plot from the movie that just came before it and doing less with it, and B, not bringing anything new to the table besides the Spinosaurs. Every movie had a clear, set goal, and that goal is the main plot and focus, and surviving the dinosaurs is usually a secondary goal. When you make surviving the dinosaurs your main focus, it turns the movie to an endless chase scene, and you end up counting down the time till the climax where they finally end the chase. Of course, part of the problem is the main characters are average Joes who have nothing to do with the engine or anyone else. Imagine if the Kirbys were secret agents disguised as civilians to use Grant's knowledge to get them to the engine facility we see in the movie. Or Billy. What if Billy was a spy and took the eggs for a third-party competition? Sure, it would have been a tired cliche at that moment, but at least it would give some sort of struggle and a point for the trip instead of saving another idiot who wandered too close to the island. There was the throwaway line about the Spinosaurus' place in Engines list, but they didn't follow it up with anything. We see these dead clones in the facility, which would be a good time exploring more of the lore, but it was just a passing point not to be brought up again. We had to wait until Fallen Kingdom to have all of this addressed to us. At least in the Lost World, the Workers' Village had a purpose to go there. The cloning facility wasn't necessary except for getting their snack time. By the way, which is more implausible? Billy somehow surviving the Pteranodon attack? Or the fact that none of the characters had food poisoning from eating these snacks that God knows when they had expired? Action scenes are cool, but they really needed a better plot than what we had gotten.
Billy, we go back to the plane, salvage what we can, then we make for the coast.
How did they build Jurassic World? After years of waiting, we got Jurassic World. A theme park on Isla Nublar with millions of visitors coming every day for the past 10 years until someone had the stupid idea of introducing new hybrid dinosaurs without knowing the entire background. But, hold on a second. Ever wondered how they managed to open the park in the first place? Out of everything about this movie, this is the thing that kept bothering me ever since I got to see it. How did they manage to build Jurassic World? Jurassic Park was Hammond's secret project and he needed expert approval to proceed and gain his investors' backing. But everything fell down and Engine ended up getting bankrupt and purchased by Masrani. Okay, all of this we know already, but the main question of how they were able to rebuild Jurassic World is still unanswered to my knowledge. How did Masrani get government's approval to rebuild the park? We're not talking about a park that closed down and malfunctioned right after an accident. We're talking about a safari built upon extinct animals brought back to life by shady means and caused the deaths of many people, including those who worked on the park, and casualties by the San Diego incident that ended up restricting the islands from public access for years. I'm not a lawyer and I haven't studied law or business, but I don't think it's that simple to just rebuild the whole thing and open the island for public without someone slipping something under the table. This is a case where I wish there was a prequel comic tie-in. Many movies do get prequel comics as a prelude, like Pacific Rim and Godzilla. Even the original Jurassic Park had an issue 0 covering Nedry's time before the movie. Sure, in the future it would end up non-canon, but at least it gives something for an answer. Jurassic World is a great movie and a great revival for the franchise, but this is something that highly needed an answer.
Well, how did you get two different kinds of dinosaurs to,
I praised Fallen Kingdom a bit too much that I actually forgot to point out the things I didn't like about it. Okay, here it goes. The wrong map. This one was caused by rushed work and a lack of time to fix. While it didn't hurt the narrative of the movie, it did affect how people see this movie. This is what communication and fact-checking is for, people, especially in a continuity-heavy franchise like this. You bother to edit the shotguns in E.T., so something like this should be an easy fix for you. However, I still stand with the notion that we had no single consistent map of the island, and we don't see the ocean nor the entire lake area on screen, so we can't confirm or deny if they relocated the lake just for that moment.
How many times must the point be made?
Lockwood should have been the main villain. I had no problem with Mills, as he gave us the closest interpretation for both John Hammond and Louis Dodgson in one pack. But because he took center stage, he overshadowed Lockwood and made him a plot device so he can move on with his plans without interference. But what if Lockwood was the villain of the movie? Considering that he was Hammond's former partner who split up with him on bitter terms, it would make perfect sense to develop a grudge on him and would use this as an excuse to get all the dinosaurs for himself. In one of Clayton Fiorte's videos, he entertained the idea of Lockwood being the original John Hammond from the novel. And that was an idea I've been wanting to happen. The idea of getting that version of Hammond on the big screen was something I've been looking forward to see. But sadly it didn't go that way. Maybe they were afraid of backlash for killing an old man. But then again, not only they did it anyway, but he would be a dirty villain which would make us want to see him killed by a dinosaur. Basing him on Norman Atherton was a great touch and a nod to the original story, but Lockwood did need more screen time to explore his backstory and relationship more properly, especially with the Maisie reveal.
Damn you!
Exposition issues. I've always said Fallen Kingdom is geared more towards the fans rather than the general public. Hence why most of the exposition and backstory to the movie is in the viral websites that are targeted to the fans for them to explore and connect the dots. So when the general public saw the movie, they were lost in some of the stuff and were questioning where they come from or thinking they were lazily put together by the writers when they, in actuality, have a proper background, just not made aware by everyone. Where did this plot came from? Oh, it's from the book. Why did this go this way? Oh, it was hinted at in a previous movie. Who is this character? Again, from the book. But then you have these as you know moments that could have been handled better, like why Sorna wasn't used in the operation, or that moment when Mills explained who Hammond was. If you ask me, this is a lose-lose situation. Do you want to keep most of the exposition and supplementary material for the fans to check out and keep the really important ones and risk alienating the general public? Or keep all of it within the movie and risk making it a boring exposition-heavy movie just to have every single detail in it explained? Sadly, I can't give a definitive answer because it depends on what kind of movie you're watching and the kind of story you're getting.
Take your own damn samples.
Well, that wasn't bad now, was it? Something tells me you're going to kill me later. Goody. Well, I guess I need to put my ninja skills to use someday or another. Anyway, these were my choices. Do you have any problems with the Jurassic Park movies? Let me know in the comments down below. That's all for today, and I'll see you next time. Florida, eh? Wait, how did he go there? Huh. So you went to Florida, and no one noticed a giant dinosaur casually walking down the roads? Oh wait, it's Florida. This is normal there. Good choice.